Brown trade was blank.
So my word is meh. I think that's a word now, meh. Brad Stevens went out there and he said that he wanted to get some bench strength and he wanted to diversify his offense and he didn't want all the money tied up in Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, and he was disappointed with playoff results recently. And I know that in New England, everybody loves Brad Stevens, and they should. He's done a great job. But he traded Jaylen Brown for Paul George. Are you kidding me? He traded an MVP candidate for this guy? You know, you can pick up, Frank, all the draft picks you want. Van Morrison once saying, you can take all the tea in China and put it in a big brown bag from me. This is a meh explanation. There is no justification for this trade as yet. As yet.
Yeah, I'm going to go, my word's going to be safe because I think they said all the right things about Jaylen Brown, as they should. Unbelievable 10 years there. They went to 2 finals. He was a finals MVP. They're not going to sit there and start bad-mouthing Jaylen Brown. But I do think what they really were thinking is, we're not paying him $70 million a year. The day after we lost, he goes on his Twitch stream on social media, and he's talking about how it was his favorite season. It was your favorite season while your running mate is recovering from a potentially career-ending injury. Yeah. So I think after all this time together, Tony, this idea of that tandem, everyone wanted to break them up. I think it was going to get to a point where Jaylen Brown is thinking, it's my team. Look at how we did. So I think that they figured, let's get rid of him now. But to your point, what really wasn't asked and what wasn't answered, if you were going to trade him, why did it have to be Paul George? Because who knows? Maybe the answer is nobody else wanted him. Maybe that's the answer.
Yeah. Well, and he's got an onerous contract as well. And he's got no playoff history. And this guy was the MVP of the finals one year. I mean, everything you're saying is right. They were in a position where they had to trade him. But they didn't get back what they should have. They did not.
I agree.
What's next?
I agree.
Darren Peterson and Cam Boozer put on blank performances in the Summer League last night.
I'm going to use the word credible. These guys went out there and they looked like pros. I mean, you know, they're playing with a bunch of guys who are never going to play in the NBA. So this is not about competition. This is not competition. It's how did they look? They looked very good. They looked like two people who could step into any starting lineup in the league, no questions asked. Cameron Boozer goes out there, looked, by the way, calm and complete as a player. I mean, really credible as a player. He had 18 points, 7 rebounds, and 4 assists, shot 6 of 9 from the floor, 4 of 5 from 3. I mean, what are you looking for? Darren Peterson had none of the physical problems that had been associated with his tenure in Kansas. His numbers are amazing. 25 points and 12 assists in 28 minutes. They can shut them down now, Frank, and just wait for the first day of the season.
Yeah, which will probably happen after Peterson plays the #1 overall pick, A.J. Devonta, on Thursday. My word is convincing for the points that you bring up, because here's the rule of thumb with Summer League. If you're going in as a high pick, you better play well. And if you're a second-year player, you better dominate Summer League. And we've already seen thus far with Boozer and Peterson how well that they've played. And you're right about Boozer. I've had people tell me, Malik Rose, who played with Tim Duncan, said, he reminds me of Tim Duncan. He doesn't make a lot of mistakes. He's just a solid basketball player. Peterson was the big question mark, Tony. You know this, because he load managed during the season. And everyone was wondering, what's he going to be like? Think about the way that he's kind of changed his image a little bit. He gets drafted. The first thing he says, he's happy to be in Utah. I think it's going to be great. And look at the way that he's played. You mentioned the assist. He only had 2 turnovers. In his debut, he had 8. And going into the draft, a lot of people thought Peterson was the best player. And thus far, he looks like the best player.
That's right.
But if you're a 1, 2, 3, if you're a lottery pick, you better dominate Summer League.
Yeah, or else there'll be all sorts of questions about you, and they answered them before they were even asked, I thought. That's very good stuff. That's the final word. Let's take one last break, but still to come, Cristiano Ronaldo sounds satisfied with his World Cup efforts.
And Jalen Brunson has surgery for something that had apparently been hampering him throughout the playoffs.
You mentioned Utah. Last year's #1 pick by them, Ace Bailey, correct? He didn't sound that enthusiastic to go to Utah. And this kid is enthusiastic to go to Utah. That's all you can ask for. Plus,
absolutely,
12 assists in 28 minutes? That's okay. That's pretty. Wilbon couldn't make it to Tuesday, so I am joined by our great friend from the starting lineup on SiriusXM, Mr. Frank Isola.
There we go. The U.S. must
And
be
we
out.
begin today with last night's 4-1 drubbing of the United States World Cup team by Belgium. This is the same Belgian team that beat the United States 5-2 in a friendly in Atlanta a couple of months before the World Cup. Even the presence of Folarin Balogun, I hope I get that right, couldn't stop this rout. Frank, what did you see last night, and how does this disappointing finish affect how you see the United States' overall performance in this World Cup?
Yeah, you said disappointing. It's discouraging. I think ultimately it became a little embarrassing, some of the things that happened in the second half of that game. You know, and I think if you go back to everything surrounding Balogun being allowed to play, to me that kind of removed a lot of the good vibes surrounding this team. You're getting the White House involved with FIFA. It's a bad look because you know this, Tony. The American way is to kind of be the underdog. And I think if we went into this game as the underdog with that kind of attitude, I think that would have helped us. Belgium went into that game with an underdog attitude, and they're better than us to begin with. And, Tony, they had players on the bench like Kevin De Bruyne, who might be the greatest player in their history, didn't even play. They brought on guys who are great players in the 70th minute. They were just a better team. And if you look at what happened in the first minute, they come out, the goalkeeper for the U.S., Matt Freese, has to make a great save. And right away you're thinking, wow, we don't look like we're ready to play. And sure enough, we weren't. We fall behind 1-0. Then even after Tillman scored that great goal off the free kick, after the restart, we give up a goal 52 seconds later, which, by the way, Tony, came off of a turnover from Christian Pulisic. So everything, the 4 goals that we gave up, first 2 defensive lapses, last 2 mental lapses, all the good vibes we built up, all the good play, it disappeared on one night in Seattle.
So let me ask you a question. I'm going to go off script here completely. I'll get back to my notes later. But you raised an interesting point. If they hadn't played him, if they said you're not going to play or played him as a sub, if they hadn't started him, do you think that would have changed anything? Would that be a strategy you would think about?
I think he was always going to play because I think the manager, Mauricio Pochettino, looked at it as he's eligible to play. He's been our best goal scorer. He's going to play. But had the suspension stood, I do think our attitude would have been a lot different. We would have had a bit of a fighting spirit. We didn't have that last night. You watched it. Did we look flat all 90 minutes or what?
It's hard for me because I don't know anything about soccer. So what I look at here is that this is the round we always go out in.
That's right.
The last 4 times we've made the World Cup, we have gone out in this round. We lost to a team that we always lose to. The only European team that we ever beat is Bosnia. Like we don't beat Belgium. You know, we're down 1-0 early, like you say. Then we make this wonderful thing, bounces off a guy's head, and it goes in on a free kick. And then within a minute, we're down again. We were thoroughly beaten in this game. Thoroughly. I mean, and I think that Belgium was able to, as you say, to consider themselves the underdog because of this imposition of the red card situation. And afterwards, what did they text? Overturn this. Right? I mean, that's funny. Overturn this. Look, I don't want to go too long. I don't want to hear from the soccer poets anymore. I don't want to hear what a beautiful game it is. It's not our game. It's not our game. I mean, you know what our game is? Our game is the NFL. Let's see Belgium beat us in the NFL. We're going to come back in 4 years, Frank, and we're going to sing this same song because it's just not ours. Well, stay with soccer, though. Lionel Messi in Argentina fell behind Egypt early this afternoon. Messi's attempt to tie it with a penalty kick was batted away. Egypt then went ahead 2-0 twice in the second half, with the first one being overturned on review. The defending champs looked to be out, but then made a furious comeback to win, scoring thrice late, including one by Messi. Frank, your thoughts on this result and the impact on both Egypt and Argentina?
Yeah, I think Egypt deserved better. And if you listen to the players and their manager after the game, and once again, I think this is some of the residue from what happened with FIFA allowing Balogun to play. They felt like they were doing everything they can to get Argentina, and more specifically Lionel Messi, into the next round. That goal that they called off, which should have been the second goal, that was a foul that happened 90 yards away. Okay, you're going to call that off. And then late in the game, with Argentina up 3-2, Mo Salah, who's their best player and has been a great player playing in England, gets tripped in the box, and they don't even review that play. So if you're Egypt, how are you not sitting there thinking, why are you overturning that goal, but you're not even checking this one? Now, in the case of Argentina, to their credit, they scored 3 goals in 11 minutes. They were down 2-0. They looked dead in the water. And I'll relate this to basketball a little bit. In 04, that Argentina basketball team led by Manu Ginobili, they're a bunch of pit bulls. We get Lionel Messi's a great player. He's surrounded by pit bulls that fight. And when they were down 2-0, they looked dead in the water. They don't give up.
Yeah.
So to their credit, with a little help from the referee, they advance.
So I'm watching some of this game, and I notice that it's 2-0 Egypt. And I say to myself, this is probably a big deal. If Egypt were to beat Argentina, this is a big deal. Because, I mean, growing up where I grow up, if somebody asks me, well, who's good in soccer? I look south. I see Brazil. I see Argentina. I think that they're great powers. All right, so now Egypt is ahead 2-0. Norway has already beaten Brazil. And now Egypt is going to beat Argentina. And I go, well, how can this be? This isn't possible, because I don't consider Norway and Egypt on the class of Brazil and Argentina. And then I think to myself, whoa, this could be Messi's last World Cup game ever. 4 years from now, he's 43 years old. He's not going to play. And then all of a sudden they start scoring. They score once, they score twice. Messi scores, he makes a fantastic goal. And I think to myself, okay, they'll run it out. They're in extra time. They'll run the thing out. It'll be penalty kicks. I'll catch my breath. I'll know what I'm doing. They score again. This is impossible to score 3 times in that amount of time. And I have to throw all my notes out the window. I have nothing to say because I was prepared for Egypt to win.
You know what? It's funny you say that, because at 2-2, when they tied it up, all of a sudden what they say is the game got stretched and it was end to end. You would have thought that both teams would sit in, play for the 30-minute overtime, but both of them went back and forth. Egypt could have scored. Argentina ends up scoring. Enzo Fernandez, who's a terrific player. But, Tony, think about this. You mentioned Messi. His penalty kick got saved in the first half. How about him sticking with it? Sticking with it, and that was a beautiful goal that he had to tie it up. Once again, the mark of a great player.
Look, you know a lot more about soccer than I will ever know, but there were times when I watched that game, it appeared that Egypt had 17 people on defense. It was unbelievable to me what it looked like, right?
Yeah, they call it parking the bus. That's what they were going to do. They were going to defend. All right, and now to today's women's results at Wimbledon. 7-seeded Coco Gauff beat 4-seed Jessica Pegula in 3 sets to make the semis, while Naomi Osaka fell 7-6, 6-4 to Karolina Muchova. Tony, which of these Wimbledon results stands out most to you?
Well, I mean, to be honest, I don't find either one particularly surprising, and I guess I should explain why. I mean, I know that Jessica Pegula won the first set and is a higher seed than Coco Gauff. But Coco Gauff looks like a real contender here. I mean, she looks like somebody who could win. She won the last 2 sets 6-3. The crowd was completely behind her the whole way, and she responded to it. You know, she's now made the semis in all 4 majors in her career, and she's a kid. I mean, it just looks like she's something special. In terms of Osaka, it's interesting to me because yesterday on the show, Mike and I talked about whether or not Osaka could win. She had just beaten Sabalenka. Could she win Wimbledon? And I said, I don't think so. I think it's a long shot because grass is not her best surface, and she has to win 3 more grass matches. And she, again, the crowd loved her today, and she played fine, except when it got into crunch time. If I remember correctly, the first set tiebreaker, Frank, she went down 5-1. That's almost insurmountable at that point, and she didn't win it. In the second set, I believe it was 4-4, and then she got broken, and then lost at 6-4 at love. So, you know, Muchova was a better player out there today. So you know, both of them are in line with what I thought might happen.
Yeah. You know, it's funny with Coco Gauff, when we first heard about her, was at Wimbledon. And in all these matches, it was the same formula. She'd lose the first set, and then she wins the next 2. It seems like she never loses a third set at Wimbledon. She's got a toughness about her. As for Osaka, like you talked about, so when she beat Sabalenka, that's the first time on clay or on grass she beat a top 10 seed at a tournament. It's almost hard to believe. To your point, that's not her surface. I give her credit for going far.
No, she's a hardcore player. Hardcore.
Yeah, exactly. When you watch her play, and I'm thinking back to whether it's Martina or Pete Sampras or Roger Federer, these great serve and volley players, she just sits on the baseline and is crushing the ball. She never wants to. I get it. The game is played a little bit different now, and the surface there has changed a bit. But it tells me, 3 years after giving birth, she looks fit. She looks the best that she's played in a long time.
Yeah.
I think when you get to the U.S. Open, and to your point, she's playing on her surface, I think in about
That's
6
right.
weeks from now, she's going to be really, really tough to beat.
Just someone get in my ear if I'm wrong with this. If Goff were to win this, I think Goff would then have won on clay, on grass, and on hard court. I mean,
That's
and
right.
people that do that, they're, they have a chance to become all-time players. Let's take a break. But coming up, what is the word for Brad Stevens' explanation as to why the Celtics traded Jaylen Brown?
And we'll try to describe the performances of Darren Peterson and Cam Boozer in last night's Summer League matchup.
By the way, Yannick Sinner, went through in straight sets, which is what the number one player is supposed to do in the quarter.
That's right.
You're facing somebody who's not particularly ranked, and you go through in straight sets. So he looks good. Although the first match, it almost looked like he could go out. Some blanks with fill-in Frank. That's a pretty good line. What's first?
The Celtics explanation for the Jaylen